Aaron adjusted the strap of his satchel as he walked through the crowded marketplace of the intergalactic trade hub, Nova Horizon. The air buzzed with chatter, the scent of alien spices, and the occasional hum of hovering drones delivering packages. A human engineer working for the station's repair crew. Aaron often came to the market to find rare tools or spare parts that couldn't be sourced through regular supply chains. Today was no different. His eyes scanned a merchant's stall, cluttered with alien gadgets and components. The merchant, a bulky trolloid with 4 glowing eyes, grinned toothily as Aaron inspected a peculiar device, a tool Aaron suspected might be a power modulator. Only 300 creds, the trolloid said in a gruff voice, tapping the table for emphasis. Aaron raised a brow. 300. This model is at least 10 years old, and it's missing a stabilization coil. I'll give you 50. The merchant's grin faltered, his eyes narrowing. You insult me, human. This is a rare artifact. Aaron wasn't intimidated. Rare or not, it's useless without the coil. 50 creds, or I'll find someone else. He held the merchant's gaze firmly. After a long, tense moment, the trolloid grumbled and accepted Aaron's offer, tossing the device into a bag. Nearby, an elegant alien woman had been watching the exchange with obvious amusement. Her silver-blue skin shimmered under the marketplace lights, and her large, expressive eyes glimmered with curiosity. She wore a flowing, deep violet robe adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to pulse faintly, matching her alien aura. As Aaron turned to leave, the woman stepped forward, blocking his path with a playful smile. Well done, human, she said, her voice melodic and teasing. Not many people can outbargain a trolloid. I'm impressed. Aaron blinked, unsure how to respond. Thanks. The woman tilted her head, her smile widening. It's decided then. I'll marry you. The marketplace seemed to pause for a moment as several nearby aliens turned their heads to stare. Aaron froze, his brain struggling to process her words. Excuse me. What? You heard me, she said, her tone still light but her eyes sparkling with mischief. I, Zyra of the Aryan people, propose marriage to you. It's not every day I find someone so clever. Aaron stammered, heat rushing to his face as the onlookers began murmuring. I think you've got the wrong idea, lady. That's not how things work for humans. Zyra laughed softly, the sound light and enchanting. Relax, human. I'm only joking. Or am I? She winked, leaving him even more flustered. Before Aaron could respond, she turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving him standing there stunned. As he watched her vanish, he couldn't shake the feeling that his quiet life on Nova Horizon had just taken a very unexpected turn. Unbeknownst to him, this playful alien woman was about to become the most important part of his life. Aaron couldn't stop thinking about the alien woman, Zyra, all day. Her playful smile and the way she boldly proposed marriage replayed in his mind as he tinkered with a faulty energy relay in the station's repair bay. He shook his head, trying to focus on his work. She was just messing with me, he muttered to himself. Still, he couldn't help but wonder why she had singled him out. Was it a joke, or was there more to it? He brushed the thought aside and finished his repairs before heading home. Aaron lived in a modest apartment in one of Nova Horizon's quieter districts. He enjoyed the peace, far from the chaotic marketplace and constant noise of the trade hub. As he opened the door to his apartment, his mind was still preoccupied with the day's strange encounter. But what he wasn't expecting was to find Zyra sitting comfortably on his couch, legs crossed and sipping a cup of tea she must have brewed herself. How did you get in here? Aaron demanded, nearly dropping the toolbox in his hand. Zyra looked up, completely unfazed by his surprise. You really should upgrade your security, Aaron. It wasn't difficult to override. That's not the point. He snapped, placing the toolbox on the floor. Why are you in my apartment? And how do you even know my name? She grinned, setting the cup down. I have my ways. But more importantly, I'm here to discuss my proposal. Aaron blinked, utterly baffled. Wait, you are serious? About the marriage thing? Tyra leaned forward, her expression softening. Partially. I mean, yes, my initial proposal was playful, but after watching you today, I realized there's something intriguing about you, Aaron. Humans are rare here, and you're not like the others I've met. You're sharp, confident, and resourceful. He folded his arms, still wary. Look, I appreciate the compliments, but this is all a bit much. Humans don't just agree to marry someone they've barely met. Then let's change that, she said, standing up. Let's get to know each other. I'm not here to pressure you, Aaron. I only want a chance to prove we could make a good match. Aaron hesitated, studying her. There was something disarming about her honesty, even if her methods were unconventional. Why me, though? Out of all the people on this station? Syra shrugged, her silver blue skin glowing faintly in the room's soft light. Because you're different. You didn't cower in front of the Trolloid merchant. You stood your ground. That kind of spirit is rare, even among my people. Aaron sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Fine, but this isn't a yes to anything. You can't just break into my home and expect me to be okay with it. Syra's grin returned. Fair enough. Human. I'll prove myself. Just watch. As she left his apartment, Aaron couldn't help but feel his quiet life was about to get much more complicated. The next day, Aaron was still processing Syra's unexpected visit. Despite her boldness, she hadn't seemed malicious, just different. Her words lingered in his mind, especially her determination to prove herself. But he wasn't ready to get caught up in whatever strange game this alien woman was playing. As Aaron finished his shift at the repair bay, he was surprised to find Syra waiting for him outside. She was leaning casually against a sleek hoverbike, her violet robes fluttering slightly in the station's artificial breeze. Do you always stalk people like this? Aaron asked, narrowing his eyes but unable to hide his curiosity. Syra smirked. Not stalking, Aaron. Think of it as persistence. Now, come on. I want to show you something. He hesitated. Show me what? If this is another one of your weird marriage proposal stunts. It's not, she interrupted, holding up a hand. Just trust me. It's part of my culture, and I think you'll find it enlightening. Aaron sighed. Against his better judgment, he climbed onto the hoverbike behind her. Fine, but if this gets me arrested, I'm blaming you. Syra laughed, a melodic sound that made Aaron's frustration soften just a little. Relax, human. You'll enjoy this. The bike zoomed through the winding corridors of Nova Horizon, eventually exiting the main hub and heading toward a secluded section of the station. They stopped in front of a large ornate chamber guarded by two imposing Aryans. They nodded respectfully to Syra as she led Aaron inside. The chamber was breathtaking. It was an open space filled with glowing crystals, flowing water, and holographic displays that shifted with the faintest touch. The air buzzed with a faint musical hum that seemed to resonate in Aaron's chest. This is a bonding chamber, Syra explained, her voice quieter now, almost reverent. It's where Aryans come to form deep connections, not just with each other, but with the universe itself. Aaron looked around, his skepticism fading into awe. It's beautiful, but why bring me here? Syra smiled softly. To show you that my culture isn't all about jokes and bold proposals. For us, relationships are sacred. Partnerships are built on mutual understanding and shared experiences. I want to show you who I am, Aaron, not just as an Aryan, but as someone who sees something special in you. Aaron shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond. Her sincerity caught him off guard. This is a lot to take in, he admitted. I've never been great at this kind of thing. That's okay, Syra said gently. This isn't about rushing. It's about learning. And I want to learn about you, Aaron. The real you. For a moment, Aaron allowed himself to relax, letting the atmosphere of the chamber wash over him. Maybe this wasn't just some elaborate joke after all. Maybe, just maybe, there was something genuine in Cyrus' strange, unexpected interest in him. The following days passed quickly for Aaron as he continued his work at the station, trying to push aside the thoughts of Cyrus and her strange proposal. Despite her persistent presence, he kept his distance, focusing on fixing machinery and running repairs. Yet every now and then, he found himself wondering what it would be like to understand her culture, to explore the connection she seemed to believe in so strongly. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. An alarm blared throughout the station, a shrill sound that sent workers and visitors alike into a frenzy. Aaron's eyes shot wide open as he glanced around, trying to make sense of the situation. The emergency lights flickered, casting the station into an eerie red glow. A voice echoed over the intercom. "Critical systems failure. Power grid down. All personnel report to their stations immediately." Without thinking, Aaron grabbed his toolkit and rushed toward the central control room. His mind raced. The power grid was the heart of the station. If it failed completely, the entire station would go dark. And worse, the life support systems could shut down. He needed to fix this. Fast. As he arrived at the control room, he was met with chaos. Engineers and staff scrambled to identify the problem, shouting over each other. Aaron pushed through the crowd, heading straight for the control panel. The wires were fried, and several key components were fried beyond repair. Then he heard a voice calling his name. Aaron. Turning around, he saw Xyra rushing toward him, her violet robe flowing behind her like a streak of lightning. She was out of breath but determined, her usual playful demeanor replaced by a serious, focused expression. Without waiting for him to react, she pulled out a small device from her bag, a communicator that, from the looks of it, was meant for emergencies. The power surge was caused by an overload in the energy conduit, Xyra explained, quickly scanning the data on her device. "I can use my telepathic abilities to adjust the power distribution, but I need your help to stabilize the grid manually. We'll have to work fast." Aaron hesitated for a second. "Are you sure? This could be dangerous." Xyra met his gaze, her eyes calm but intense. "I'm sure. We don't have much time." Without another word, they sprang into action. Xyra connected her device to the control panel, her fingers moving with practiced precision. At the same time, Aaron worked to manually reroute the power, his hands steady despite the pressure. As they worked, Aaron could feel Xyra's presence beside him, her energy flowing through the station's systems, almost like a quiet hum. It was an intense, silent partnership. Aaron's technical skill complemented Sarah's telepathic precision, their teamwork coming together in a way that felt almost effortless. The countdown clock on the control panel flashed, and with a final push, the systems hummed back to life. The lights flickered on, the alarm stopped, and the station's life support kicked back in. Aaron let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. He looked over at Xyra, whose expression was a mixture of exhaustion and satisfaction. "You did it," he said, his voice hoarse. She smiled, her usual playful glint returning in her eyes. "We did it, Aaron. Teamwork." For the first time, Aaron truly saw the depth of Xyra's abilities and her true nature. She wasn't just an alien with strange customs and odd proposals. She was strong, resourceful, and willing to risk everything for the people she cared about. He realized, with a start, that he was beginning to trust her more than he had ever expected. And that maybe, just maybe, Xyra's bold proposal wasn't such a crazy idea after all. The days after the crisis passed in a blur of repairs and maintenance. Aaron and Xyra's teamwork during the emergency had earned them respect from their colleagues, but it had also made Aaron feel something more, a growing sense of admiration for Xyra. She wasn't just a playful alien woman with strange customs anymore. She was intelligent, capable, and, most importantly, someone he felt a connection with. But as much as Aaron tried to push aside his thoughts, something still didn't sit right. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to Xyra than she was letting on. The suddenness of her proposal, the way she quickly moved past it, as if it was just another casual gesture, it all seemed too easy. Could she be using him for some kind of political gain? After all, she was from a powerful alien species, and humans, like Aaron, weren't exactly in positions of influence. The doubt started creeping in. One evening, Aaron was working late in the station's repair bay. He had just finished fixing a malfunctioning air filtration system when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned around to find Xyra standing there, holding a datapad in her hands. "Hey, Aaron." She greeted him with a warm smile. "I've been thinking, we should go grab dinner together. I know a great spot." "Xyra." Aaron interrupted, his voice suddenly more serious than he intended. "I need to talk to you about something." Xyra's smile faded slightly, sensing the tension in his tone. "What's on your mind?" Aaron took a deep breath, unsure how to phrase it. He didn't want to hurt her, but he couldn't ignore the growing unease inside him. "I've been thinking about what you said the other day. About your proposal." Xyra's eyebrows furrowed. "Aaron, I already told you." I know," Aaron said, his voice rising slightly. "But I can't help but wonder if there's more to it than you're letting on. I mean, you're an Aryan. You have connections, power. Humans like me, we're not exactly on the same level." Xyra's expression shifted from confusion to a slight hurt. "Aaron, are you saying you think I'm using you?" Aaron's heart skipped a beat. "No, I'm just..." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with himself. "I don't know. I just can't shake the feeling that I'm a pawn in some political game." Xyra stood silent for a moment, her eyes searching his face. Then, without warning, she shook her head. "You really think that's why I've been spending all this time with you? Because of politics?" Aaron's heart sank. "I don't know what to think anymore." There was a long pause, the silence between them thick with misunderstanding. Xyra finally spoke, her voice softer than before. "Aaron, I've never seen you as a tool to be used. I've seen something in you that no one else has. I'm not asking for your trust all at once, but please, don't let your doubts get in the way of what we could be." Aaron felt a wave of guilt rush over him, but it was mixed with confusion. He didn't know how to deal with the emotions swirling inside him. Was he being paranoid, or was there something deeper going on? Before he could say anything more, Xyra turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the dim light of the repair bay. As he watched her go, Aaron realized how much he didn't want to lose the connection they had built, but he also knew he couldn't ignore his doubts. The misunderstanding lingered between them, and Aaron knew that if he wanted to move forward, he would have to confront it. But for now, the distance between him and Xyra felt bigger than ever. Aaron spent the next few days in a haze of confusion. Every time he saw Xyra, his mind seemed to cloud over with doubt. Was she really just interested in him as a person, or was there something else driving her, some deeper motive that he hadn't seen yet? But then, the guilt would settle in. He knew Xyra well enough by now to understand she wasn't like the other powerful Aryans, who saw humans as insignificant. She had shown him kindness, respect, and even risked her life alongside him to save the station. Still, the nagging thought lingered in the back of his mind. One afternoon, Aaron was working in the control room when the door slid open behind him. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The quiet sound of Xyra's footsteps had become familiar to him, even in the stillness of the station. "Aaron," Xyra said softly, her voice carrying a weight that made him pause his work. "We need to talk." Aaron's hands froze on the console. He wasn't sure if he was ready for another conversation about her proposal, but he knew he couldn't keep running from it either. With a sigh, he turned to face her. "What is it, Xyra?" he asked, trying to keep his tone neutral. She took a step forward, her eyes searching his face as if trying to read him. "I can't keep pretending like everything is fine between us," she said quietly. I didn't think it would come to this, but I need to tell you the truth. Aaron felt his heart skip a beat. The truth. His mind raced, expecting to hear something that would confirm all his worst fears. But instead, Syra's next words were something he never could have predicted. I never wanted to hurt you, Aaron. I came here, to this station, because I wanted something different. I've seen what politics can do to people. I've seen alliances form for the wrong reasons, and I wanted no part of that. But then I met you. She paused, her voice growing softer. I didn't expect to feel the way I do. You're not like the others. You don't want anything from me. And that's what drew me to you. I didn't know how to explain that to you without it sounding like a game, but it wasn't. It was just me. Aaron stared at her, his heart pounding in his chest. But the proposal, he began, his voice shaky. Zyra smiled, though it was tinged with sadness. The proposal wasn't just a joke, but it wasn't about politics either. It was my way of showing you that I care, in the only way I knew how. I wasn't using you, Aaron. I was offering you my heart. Aaron was silent for a long moment, letting her words sink in. He had misunderstood her intentions, letting his fears cloud his judgment. But now, as he stood in front of her, he realized how wrong he had been. I'm sorry, he said finally, his voice thick with emotion. I thought you were just trying to manipulate me. Zyra's expression softened, her eyes meeting his with understanding. I know, and I understand why you would think that. But I never meant to hurt you. I care about you more than you know. Aaron stepped closer to her, the weight of his doubts lifting with every word she spoke. He could see the sincerity in her eyes, the vulnerability she had been too afraid to show before. And for the first time, he felt truly seen, not as a human or an alien, but as a person. I was wrong, Aaron whispered. I should have trusted you. Zyra smiled, and this time, it wasn't just a playful grin. It was a smile filled with warmth, relief, and something deeper. We'll take it slow, Aaron. There's no rush, but I'm glad you're willing to listen. In that moment, Aaron realized that the connection between them wasn't just about understanding each other's cultures or differences. It was about trust. And with that trust came something much more profound. A real chance for love. As they stood there, side by side, it felt like the beginning of something new. Something neither of them had expected, but both of them needed. The days that followed were calmer, but Aaron couldn't shake the feeling that things between him and Sarah had changed. There was a new understanding between them now, a shift in the way they interacted. They no longer danced around the truth or hid behind playful jokes. Instead, they were building something real, something neither of them had expected but both of them had started to believe in. Hijira continued to visit Aaron in his workshop, but instead of awkwardness, there was a sense of comfort between them. She was no longer just an alien with strange customs. She was someone Aaron could talk to, someone whose ideas and thoughts had started to intrigue him. And every day, he found himself more drawn to her in ways he hadn't anticipated. One afternoon, while Aaron was taking a break from his work, Syra appeared in the doorway of his workshop, holding a small, delicate device in her hands. She walked up to him with a quiet confidence, her silver-blue skin glowing faintly in the soft light of the room. Aaron, she began, her voice serious. I want to show you something. It's not just about words anymore. I want you to see my abilities, to understand who I really am. Aaron raised an eyebrow, curious but cautious. What do you mean? Zara smiled, a hint of mischief returning to her expression. Just trust me. Without waiting for a response, she pressed the device into his hands. It was small and sleek, unlike anything Aaron had ever seen before. The surface was smooth, and it pulsed faintly with a soft light. What is this? Aaron asked, examining the device carefully. It's a communication device, Tyra explained. But it's also part of my telepathic abilities. I can share memories, thoughts, and feelings with you through it. I know you've had doubts, but I want to show you that my intentions are real. Aaron stared at her, unsure of what to say. This was unlike anything he had ever experienced. He had always prided himself on being logical, grounded in reality. But the idea of linking with an alien in such an intimate way felt strange. "I don't know," Aaron said hesitantly, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "This is a lot to take in." Zyra's expression softened. "I understand, Aaron, but I'm not asking you to jump in blindly. I'm asking you to trust me. If you want to understand me fully, you need to see things from my perspective. You don't have to be afraid." There was something in her eyes, a deep sincerity that Aaron couldn't ignore. He hesitated for a moment longer, then sighed, giving in to his curiosity. "Okay, let's do it." Zyra smiled, and the warmth in her gaze made Aaron's heart flutter. She reached out and gently placed the device in his hands. As soon as his fingers brushed the surface, a wave of emotions, images, and sensations flooded his mind. For a moment, it was overwhelming. Flashes of vivid memories, fragments of Zyra's life. He saw her as a child, playing among the vast, glowing trees of her home planet. He felt the weight of her responsibilities as an Aryan, the pressure of being part of a powerful species. He saw her loneliness, her longing for something real, something deeper than political alliances or power struggles. Through the device, Zyra's feelings of uncertainty, vulnerability, and hope reached Aaron clearly. It was as if he could feel her heart, her genuine desire to connect with him. And in that moment, all his doubts melted away. When the connection ended, Aaron slowly exhaled, his hands trembling slightly from the intensity of the experience. "Zyra," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I didn't know." Zyra's eyes were shining, a mix of relief and affection. "You understand now, don't you?" Aaron nodded, his mind still processing the flood of emotions and images. "I do," he said softly. "I do." In that moment, he realized how much he had underestimated her. Zyra hadn't been playing games or using him for some political gain. She had been trying to share her truth with him, in the only way she knew how. As he looked at her, Aaron knew that this wasn't just about alien cultures or misunderstandings. It was about trust. And that trust, once broken, had been rebuilt stronger than ever. "Thank you," Aaron said, his voice sincere, "for showing me who you really are." Zyra smiled, her heart finally at ease. "No more doubts, Aaron. Just us." And for the first time, Aaron truly believed it. The next few days after the connection had deepened between Aaron and Zyra were filled with a new sense of peace. Aaron's doubts had faded, replaced by a growing warmth he hadn't expected. They had both been vulnerable with each other, sharing their fears and hopes, and now their relationship felt different, stronger, more genuine. Yet, Zyra's playful side was still present, and every now and then, she would surprise Aaron with a lighthearted comment or a mischievous grin. But even though things had improved between them, Aaron still couldn't shake the feeling that Zyra might have more to say, more to show him. One afternoon, while Aaron was working on a new project in his workshop, Zyra appeared at the doorway, her smile a little more serious than usual. He looked up, his heart skipping a beat as he noticed the look in her eyes. There was something different about her today, something that made the air around them seem charged with anticipation. "Aaron," she began, her voice steady but soft. "I've been thinking a lot about what we've shared, about us." Aaron set down the tools he had been working with, sensing the shift in her mood. He met her gaze, his curiosity piqued. "What about us?" Zyra took a deep breath, as if gathering the courage to say something important. She stepped closer to him, the energy between them palpable. "I've been holding something back. Something I need to show you. Something I've never done for anyone before." Aaron's heart began to race. "What is it, Zyra?" With a calm smile, Zyra held out her hand to him. The gesture was simple, yet it carried so much weight. Aaron hesitated for only a second before he took her hand. The warmth of her touch filled him with an overwhelming sense of connection, and for the first time, he felt the full depth of what they were building together. Zyra led him out of the workshop and toward the main gathering area of the station. It was quiet, the usual hustle and bustle of the trade hub nowhere to be heard. They walked together through the peaceful corridor until they reached a small terrace that overlooked the stars. The view was breathtaking. Countless galaxies stretched out in the distance, their lights twinkling like tiny diamonds. "This is where we Aryans go when we need to think," Zyra said softly. "When we need clarity." Aaron looked around, taking in the beauty of the scene. But there was something else he noticed, something unusual. The area around the terrace was covered in glowing plants, their soft light flickering in patterns that resembled a heartbeat. He looked at Zyra, puzzled. "What's all this?" Zyra smiled, a sense of pride in her eyes. "I spent days preparing this for you. This is how we Aryans make gestures of commitment. Not through words, but through actions, through symbols that show our true feelings." She reached out, touching the nearest plant. It shimmered in response, its glow pulsing faster, then fading to a soft, steady light. Slowly, more plants in the area began to glow in rhythm, creating a soft, almost magical illumination that filled the terrace. Aaron stood in awe, mesmerized by the beauty around him. "This is incredible. I wanted to show you," Zyra continued, her voice gentle but firm, "that my intentions with you are true. This is my way of offering you something more than just my words. I want to build something with you, Aaron. Not just for today, but for the future." Aaron felt his breath catch in his throat. The gesture was so unexpected, so heartfelt. The simple beauty of it all touched him deeply. Zyra wasn't just offering him a relationship. She was offering him a partnership, a bond that transcended their differences. And for the first time, he realized just how much he wanted that too. Aaron started, but the words were hard to find. He wasn't sure what to say in response to such a profound gesture. "Zyra, I don't know what to say. This means everything to me." Zyra smiled, her eyes warm in understanding. "You don't need to say anything, Aaron. Just be with me. That's all I need." And as they stood together, the glow of the plants surrounding them, Aaron knew this was the beginning of something beautiful, something that wasn't based on misunderstandings or doubts, but on trust, commitment, and love. And for the first time, he was ready to embrace it fully. As the days passed after Zyra's grand gesture, everything between Aaron and her seemed to settle into a peaceful rhythm. They spent time together, shared their thoughts, and learned about each other's worlds. Their connection had deepened, and Aaron could no longer deny that Zyra was no longer just an alien who had proposed out of the blue. She had become someone he cared for deeply. But, as with any relationship, their bond was not without challenges. One afternoon, as they were walking through the corridors of the station, a sudden voice interrupted their quiet conversation. "Aaron." A familiar voice called out from behind them. Aaron turned around to see a group of Aryan leaders walking toward them, their stern faces not hiding the authority they carried. At the forefront was an elder, his eyes hard and calculating. "What is this?" the elder asked, his voice cold. "You, an Aryan, are spending your time with a human. Have you lost all sense of purpose?" Zyra's posture immediately stiffened, her usual calm replaced with something harder, something Aaron had never seen before. "These matters are none of your concern," Zyra said, her voice firm but measured. The elder's expression darkened. "It is my concern when you, a member of our respected lineage, begin forming bonds with lesser beings. It is an embarrassment to our people. What are you doing with him?" Aaron felt a pang of discomfort at the elder's words. He had always known that humans were considered lesser by many of the more powerful species in the galaxy, but hearing it spoken so openly stung. Zyra stepped in front of Aaron protectively. "You do not get to decide my path, elder. This bond, this connection, is between me and Aaron, not you. You do not have the right to judge us." The elder's gaze hardened even further. "You're naive. Thyra, the galaxy doesn't work this way. Relationships between different species are nothing but a waste of time. You'll see. Eventually, you'll return to the Irian way. You always do." Zyra's eyes narrowed. "Not this time." The elder scoffed. "We'll see. You are welcome to your little games, but remember, the Irian people are watching you." With a final dismissive glance, the elder turned and walked away, leaving Zyra standing there, visibly shaken. Aaron could see the tension in her shoulders, but she quickly masked it with a deep breath. He reached out, gently placing his hand on her arm. "Hey, don't let him get to you," Aaron said softly. "You know what we have is real." Zyra's eyes softened as she looked at him, but there was a trace of doubt behind them. "I know. But Aaron, the pressure from my people is intense. I care about you, but what if they're right? What if I'm making a mistake?" Aaron shook his head, his voice steady. "Zyra, don't let anyone else decide what's right for us. What we have, this bond, it's ours. We decide its future, not them." Zyra took a long, slow breath, then smiled, her confidence slowly returning. "You're right," she said, her voice more determined than before. "I've spent my whole life trying to meet other people's expectations. But with you, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to follow my heart." Aaron squeezed her hand, feeling the weight of her words. "Then let's do it. Together. Whatever comes our way, we'll face it together." Zyra's smile deepened as she looked at Aaron. For the first time, he saw a sense of certainty in her eyes. She wasn't afraid of the challenges ahead, because she knew that whatever happened, they would be stronger for it. They were in this together. And with that, Aaron realized that love wasn't just about shared moments or grand gestures. It was about standing together through the hard times, facing the judgment of others, and finding the courage to choose each other, no matter the odds. As they walked side by side, the weight of the universe suddenly didn't seem so heavy. They had each other, and that was all they needed. The days after the confrontation with the Irian elder were different. Aaron and Zyra both knew that the challenges ahead wouldn't be easy. The pressure from Zyra's people would not disappear overnight. Still, their bond had only grown stronger. They were now more determined than ever to face whatever the universe threw at them, together. Aaron spent his days working on the station, but his thoughts were never far from Zyra. Every time he saw her, a warmth filled his chest. It wasn't just the attraction he'd felt from the beginning. It was something deeper now. A connection that transcended species, culture, and everything that made them different. And it felt real. Zyra, too, had become more confident. The weight of her people's judgment had loosened a little. She had begun to stand taller, her posture more assured. The more time she spent with Aaron, the more she realized that their love wasn't just some fleeting moment or a reckless decision. It was something that could last, something that had the potential to change both their worlds. One evening, after a long day of work, Zyra invited Aaron to the terrace again, the same place where they had shared their first quiet moment together, looking out at the endless stars. This time, there was no grand gesture, no glowing plants or emotional revelations. Instead, it was just the two of them, sitting quietly, watching the stars. "Do you remember the first time we came here?" Zyra asked, her voice soft, almost like a whisper. Aaron smiled. "How could I forget? You were so sure about everything, like you had everything figured out." Zyra chuckled softly, the sound warm and familiar. "I thought I did, but then I met you, and everything changed. I didn't expect any of this." Aaron looked at her, his heart swelling with emotion. "I didn't expect it either, but I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it was you." Zyra turned to face him, her eyes filled with sincerity. "I don't know where this will go, Aaron, but I know that whatever happens, I don't want to be without you." Aaron reached out, taking her hand in his. The simple act felt profound, like a promise. "I feel the same way," he said quietly. "We've been through so much already, and I'm not going anywhere." They sat in silence for a moment, the stars above them twinkling softly. It was a peaceful kind of silence, the kind that only came when two people truly understood each other. There was no need for words, because everything they felt was already clear. The universe was vast, full of unknowns and dangers. But for Aaron and Syra, it didn't matter. They had found something rare, something that couldn't be shaken by the opinions of others or the challenges ahead. They had found love. A love that was built on trust, understanding, and the courage to be vulnerable with each other. As they looked up at the stars, Aaron knew that no matter what the future held, they would face it side by side. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was real. And in a universe so vast and uncertain, that was all they needed. And so, together, they sat under the stars, knowing that whatever challenges lay ahead, their bond was unbreakable. Their journey had just begun, but for the first time, Aaron felt certain that they were ready for whatever came next, because love, in its truest form, had the power to conquer anything. And they had it.